Hello friends, so today I'm going to show you how to make salt dough, which is kind of like clay, but you can use materials from around your house. You're going to need 1/4 cup of water, 1/4 cup of salt, and 1/2 cup of flour to make your salt dough. So if you want to gather those supplies, I'm going to go ahead and start to mix all of these together. I'm also going to be adding some green food coloring. If you want your salt dough to be a specific color, you might want to get some food coloring or watercolor paint if you have liquid watercolor paint as well. All right, let's get started mixing. So here you see I'm adding my water, I'm adding the salt, and then I'm going to add the flour. After you add all your ingredients, use a spoon or spatula and stir them together. Once they harden up a little bit, it gets really dry, then you can use your hands and knead the dough, which means that you start to work the dough with your fingers. So you're going to start to squeeze it and pull it and push it. As you work the dough, you might realize you need a little more flour if it's too sticky. You can go ahead and use more flour. Once your dough is nice and soft and feels like Play-Doh, then you can go ahead and get ready to add some color. So now I've kneaded my dough. So you can see it's kind of like Play-Doh right now. And if your dough is too sticky, you could always add a little more flour. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to be adding green food coloring to my salt dough because I'm gonna be making a Baby Yoda today. I don't want it to be white, I'm gonna add color to it. If you want to make something else, a different character, you might add a different color or use the white salt dough, and then you can always use other things like markers to color it in later. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this into a little bit of a pancake, a big flat pancake, and I'm going to take my food coloring. I'm only going to use about 3 drops. If I need to add more, I can always add more. And I'm going to put it in the center. Might have used 4. And we're going to mix it. So I'm going to fold it inside of itself because that will make sure the coloring stays inside the middle of the clay because you don't want it to get all over your fingers at first. Your fingers might get a little messy, but it will be okay. It's okay to get messy, just like when we're in art class. Now I'm going to do the same thing and I'm going to knead the dough until it's all green. This might take a little longer. Now that I have my green salt dough, I'm going to start to make my Baby Yoda. And I'm just going to make the head today. You might choose if you want to look up a picture and make the entire body. That is up to you. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my clay and I'm going to divide it in half. So I'm just going to pull it and I want 2 little balls that are about the same size. One of these is going to be for the head of Baby Yoda. This other one we're going to use for the ears and then the other details. So this is going to be the head. I'm going to set that one here. Now I'm also going to take this piece of salt dough and I am going to divide it into thirds. So I'm going to try to figure out how to make it 3 little clumps of salt dough that are about the same size. What we're going to end up doing is we're going to use 2 of these for the ears. And then one of these we'll use for the other details. I'm going to show you how I'm going to use the salt dough to actually make some eyes and facial details for our Baby Yoda. So with our big piece of salt dough first, we are going to make the head of Baby Yoda, which is an oval. The first thing I'm going to do is to make it smooth, I'm going to roll it in my hands. So between my hands, you can roll it like this. You can roll it on the table if you would like. Also, if you want to put something on your table, like a piece of wax paper or just a regular piece of paper, that might keep your table from getting too messy. So now I've rolled it into a round ball shape. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the head an oval that's a little flatter. So I'm going to set it onto my wax paper. I'm going to start to push it down with the palm of my hand. And I want to make it into a long oval. I might need to pick it up using my fingers, just pinching it. I'm not pushing really hard. I'm just trying to make it into a nice big oval. I'm just tapping. Now that looks more like an oval shape. So this is going to be the shape for Yoda's head. Now we'll go ahead and we'll do the ears. So I'm gonna take 2 of these pieces. We're gonna make the ears on the side of Yoda's head. Now the ears look kind of like a leaf. They're an organic shape. They're not a geometric shape like an oval, they're organic. So we're gonna take these 2 pieces of salt dough. I'm going to roll it in my hands, more like I'm making a cylinder. Once I make it into a longer shape, what I'm gonna do is one side is going to be round, the other side is going to have more of a point on it, and I'm just pinching with my fingers, not pinching too hard. Then I can start to tap it and flatten it out like I did with the head. So you can see it looks kind of like a leaf shape or a feather shape. And I'm gonna attach that to one side of Yoda's head. His ears are on the side of his head. So we're just gonna smush it against the side really carefully. Now as we're working, you can see my salt dough is still very wet. It's gonna take a little while for your Yoda head to dry. So you're gonna have to give it a little bit of time. I'm gonna take the other side, this other piece, and I'm gonna do the same thing. Pinch a little bit, make this side round, make it into that feather shape. I'm gonna turn it because this one goes on this side. So I'm gonna flatten it out just a little. And I'm gonna start to smush this ear against Yoda's head. Now, if you make a mistake while you are doing this, what's really awesome is that your clay, or excuse me, your salt dough, you can just go ahead and squish it back into a ball and then start over. Because this is just like clay. It takes a little while to dry. So now we have our ears and we have our oval for the head. I'm now gonna use this extra clay or this extra salt dough to make some eyes, a nose, and then some other features on Yoda's face. I'm not making a body today, I'm focusing on the head. And you're gonna notice all my details are green. When my salt dough is dry, I'm gonna use a permanent marker to actually fill in the eyes and draw over the mouth. So I'll do that once it's dry. I'm gonna take this piece of clay and I'm gonna start to make the eyes. You don't need really, really big circles. I might take this one here. I'm gonna roll it into a smaller circle in my hand. I think it's a little too big actually. Roll it into a smaller circle on my hand. And then I'm gonna push it down into Yoda's face, but not all the way down. This is one of his eyes. And Yoda's eyes are pretty big. Take my other piece of salt dough, about the same size. You might need to test them out before you squish them down. And on the other side of his face, I'm gonna make another eye. Like I said, I'm gonna use that permanent marker to actually color in his eyes so they are black once it is dry. His other details, like his nose and his mouth, I'm just gonna use this extra salt dough to make a little round nose. So I'm gonna roll it between my fingers. You might need to practice that motion. You can also roll it in your palm, on the table, whatever works best for you, friends. I'm gonna squeeze that right under his nose. You see it's smaller, sorry, his nose is gonna be smaller than his eyes, and then his mouth. And I'm actually gonna use a really, really thin piece. I'm gonna make a little snake by rolling it on the table. It makes it really thin. And usually Yoda, you can make him, he has a straight smile like this. Maybe you'll make him have a really small smile. That is completely up to you. I'm gonna make him have a really small smile. And you can see as I'm doing this, I'm just tapping. I'm never pushing down too far. Now, you have a choice. You can take the extra salt dough that you have. You can make something around his head. Maybe you want to make some eyebrows. That is completely up to you. I might just hold on to this and make a little something else. So once our salt dough dries, then we can go ahead and finish off the final details of adding some black to the face of Baby Yoda and maybe some other drawing details. All right, so it's been a few hours now, and you can see that I actually moved my Baby Yoda onto a piece of cardboard. This is just from a box that I had that I was going to recycle. It probably will dry better and be stronger if you put it on a piece of cardboard or some thick paper. You could use an old cereal box. You could use a piece of cardboard that I cut off of a regular box. It is completely up to you. But now that we have gone ahead and we've let it dry for a bit, you can see that this looks a little more white or a little lighter. So now I'm going to add my drawing details. I'm gonna draw over this part, the eyes, with a Sharpie, a permanent marker. I'm also gonna use some of these colors to fill in some other details on my Baby Yoda as well. So the first thing I'm gonna do is take my Sharpie and I'm gonna color over the eyes. What's really nice is that when salt dough is drying or dries, you can color right over it. And I'm gonna leave a small circle in the corner because that is going to be the reflection in his eyes. So I'm not gonna color all the way down to Baby Yoda's face because I don't wanna get the marker on his face. And I'm gonna do the same thing on this side. You can be like me and outline your eye before you color it in. That is completely up to you. All right, so there's Baby Yoda's eyes. Now that I have his eyes, if I want, I could take this marker, I could color in his nose. I think I'm gonna leave it green. I might actually just outline his mouth a little bit and color it in. Because I think that looks a little better. There we go. Now I'm gonna go ahead and take my pink marker and I'm gonna color in his ears a little bit. If you have different colors of Sharpies, you might be able to add some different colors to your Baby Yoda as well. If you have washable markers, you can still decorate the background with those. I am unsure if the washable markers will stick onto the salt dough, but you can always try. There we go. So that's pretty much all I want to add to my Baby Yoda. I don't want to add any wrinkles. If you have a darker green marker, you could add some more wrinkles. That is up to you. The last thing I am going to do is use my primary colors. I'm going to write Star Wars in the background, and I'll even sign my artwork down here. So I'm going to do bubble letters, and I'm going to do it just like the actual print. If yours is not perfect, that is okay. You might even want to draw in pencil first and then outline with a marker like we usually do when we are in class. There we go. I can color that in blue. I might color it in, I think I'll color it in blue. And then you can add whatever details you would like to your background. You can add some stars for the galaxy. Maybe you'll add some other Star Wars symbols. That is completely up to you and however you want to finish up your artwork. So here is my final Baby Yoda. I can put this on the wall, maybe stand it up against something in my room, but that is all I created. Now if you did not want to make a Baby Yoda, maybe you use your salt dough to make something else. But I hope you enjoyed making our own clay and making a really fun art activity based on Star Wars. Happy creating!